What's up, Bulls fans? Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. I am not very upset as I usually am, but, I kind of expected the Bulls to lose this game. And not going to lie, I kind of expected them that they would lose this game even when they had the lead. Once Kobe White picked up that flagrant foul on Michael Porter Jr., I'm like, well, here comes the landslide. So I'm not very upset. I feel like I should be, but I'm really not. So this is going to be kind of a calm video, just kind of breaking some things down. I will say I'm upset at some Bulls fans for some things that are being said, but I won't get into that very much. But I'm going to break down this game, kind of talk about another horrible loss for the Bulls. And I want to kind of, I have to start nitpicking on some things because while this is a humongous team loss, there are just some major mental errors that I feel like this can't happen. I mean, there are mistakes that are going to happen within a basketball game that it's going to happen, right? And obviously, then young guys, they're going to make some mistakes, right? But there are just some mistakes that can't happen, and in this game, it was just a product of all right, here's a mistake that shouldn't happen, and then another mistake that shouldn't happen. It's incredible how bad this Bulls team hurts themselves, and it's going to happen with a young team. But this was even vets that were making all these terrible plays and terrible decisions that were just killing the team. I'm going to kind of get into it a little bit, but before we get into it, though, make sure you hit that like button if you're new to the channel, especially if you're a Bulls fan. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this. So, I want to first start off by saying that this looks very much like the San Antonio game. Bulls played very well through 3.5 quarters this game. And the Bulls against San Antonio, I'd argue they played well through 3 quarters. But this game right here, it just looked like an exact replica of the San Antonio game because, they're up. Bulls have a double-digit lead, and then we go to this bench unit, and not going to lie, the bench unit was actually doing pretty well to start the fourth quarter, but then it's just one mistake that leads to just a whole downfall of more mistakes by the Bulls, and once that momentum shifts, it's like, we can't stop it, and it's just how bad this team is in the fourth quarter. Is one mistake happens, the whole mentality goes out the window. The one mistake that happened was Kobe White fouled Michael Porter Jr. on a 3-point attempt. And it was then deemed a flagrant foul, which I don't understand why. I don't think should have been a flagrant. But either way, you do not foul him. It was a desperation 3 by Michael Porter Jr. and Kobe White still fouled him. Just that right there turned the whole tide to the Denver Nuggets. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, we got 2 points out of Michael Porter Jr.'s free throws because he missed one. And then it's like, all right, we're going to then come down and score again because we have the ball back. And they did just that. And this is the point where I'm like, all right, here comes the downside. It's just a whole landslide of we're going to lose this game. And I had a feeling because I'm like, this Denver Nuggets team, they tried to make 2 runs in this game. One was in the second quarter when they were down double digits already. And then another one was in the third quarter. And the Bulls withstood those runs. They were just like, all right, we're going to just hold our ground here. And they did a good job of it. But I think with this one right here in the fourth quarter, which just seems to happen, it's always at the start of the fourth quarter at some point where it's just it's mostly bench guys out there. And remember, now our bench is mostly filled with young players, right? It just goes downhill. And I'm going to start this video by saying that I think Billy Donovan took some blame tonight at the press conference. And I think he needs to take some blame tonight for his lineups because he let Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., Denzel Valentine stay out there in the fourth quarter for too long, in my opinion. Kobe White fouled Michael Porter Jr., and I think at that moment when that happens, I think he needs to come out of the game because he made that one mistake. It's like I don't want him to be in the game for another mistake, right? So there's that right there. But I also just think with Billy Donovan, man, I don't know what you were doing. Thaddeus Young started the fourth quarter with the bench unit, but then he came out early to get more rest, but he didn't come back in until under 5 minutes left to go in the game, and I think that's too late. I also think with Levine, he didn't check in until 7 minutes left, and it was already too late at that point because Levine then checks in, and it's already a humongous momentum shift happening. Because what Donovan did is that he brought in Wendell Carter Jr. and Larry Markkanen early in the fourth quarter, around 10 or 9 minutes left, and just that alone, and said you have a bunch of young guys out here with no vets out there to help them, and all of a sudden it's just there's mistake after mistake after mistake. Now there's a whole momentum shift happening. You try to bring in vets to help ease the tide, right? And it's just too late at that point because now it's like you have to leave some of the young guys out there, right? But now the vets have to come in and they're trying their best to just anchor down like, okay, we can stop this, but it's out of their control because, we got some young guys out there still that are making mistakes, and then, vets, at max it's probably only 4 vets out there, but at that point it was only 3. It's too hard to stop a Denver Nuggets team, which is one of the best teams in the West, from absolutely dominating you at that point when they have all the momentum. So I have to start this video by saying that I think Billy Donovan needs to take some blame, and he did. He took some blame at tonight's press conference. I applaud him for doing that. And he needs to kind of look at, once one mistake happens, especially in the fourth quarter, things need to change immediately. So I'm going to start this video by saying that. Now, I think this downfall, again, was just, it was mistake after mistake, but it was obviously self-harming mistakes, right? The biggest thing that pops out to me is that it really wasn't the turnovers tonight. It really wasn't. And a lot of people start talking about timely turnovers, and yes, there were some big timely turnovers. I look at Satoransky, for example. He had multiple times either in the fourth quarter or in overtime, he was trying to do just a handoff play, and he set an illegal screen doing the handoff play. Yes, that is a timely turnover, but the main thing that pops out to me is that this team wasn't sloppy with the basketball, really. There was one turnover by Thaddeus Young that was sloppy, but in all honesty, this was not sloppy basketball by the Bulls, like in terms of just handling the ball and making sure that they can keep control of it. Yes, the Levine turned it over at the with like a minute left to go in the game. Obviously, yes, that's being sloppy, but I'm talking about when Denver was really making the comeback. It was more just we did not get back on defense. We didn't match up on defense. It was people stepping out of bounds. Guys weren't getting into their sets. We chuck up a early 3. It was other things that this Bulls team was doing to themselves that was causing us to hurt ourselves. It wasn't the turnovers. And if you look at tonight's total, right, the Bulls only had 13 turnovers tonight. We had less than the Denver Nuggets. So I think that kind of shows you it's like not only does this team hurt themselves with the turnovers, which we've seen all year, but they're hurting themselves with just lack of awareness or lack of IQ. And this is where I'm like, man, I love Thaddeus Young. I love Satoransky. I thought OPJ played great tonight and was brilliant. And I like Garrett Temple too. But there needs to be a guy that needs to come into this team, and I don't know when it's going to happen. I'll get into the trade deadline in a little bit here. But at some point, there needs to be a different veteran that most likely at the point guard position, and I'm talking veteran here, that understands how to play in the fourth quarter, because in my opinion the fourth quarter is always a different game than the first 3 quarters. It's always a different game, right? And this team, the Bulls, just have an issue in the fourth quarter. So we need a guy that has that veteran leadership, that has the attention of every single player on this roster, to also be the main ball handler in the fourth quarter and help lead this team and keep this team intact all 12 minutes throughout the fourth. And I'm hoping, I honestly, I don't think anything's going to happen at the trade deadline. I already know a bunch of Bulls fans are going insane about it, but I honestly don't think there's many options out there. I keep hearing Lonzo Ball, but again, he doesn't fit the veteran aspect, number 1. But number 2, I don't know what we can give the Pelicans that would make them do that trade. I'm being honest here. I don't see the Pelicans being like, yeah, we'll take Laurie for Lonzo. No, that's not happening. We need to be realistic here, right? So it's going to be hard to get that type of guy right now. So I honestly just don't see it. But come late in the off season, where 1, the Bulls have money, but number 2, then we have a bunch of assets now with much more flexibility to go out and get that guy. I expect Karnisovas to go get that person for the Bulls. And I mentioned some names earlier in the previous video, like Patty Mills, TJ McConnell. I mentioned Kyle Lowry. Like, these are the types of guys that I'm looking at for the Bulls to go get, and they'll help this team in the fourth quarter, which is really what we just need, to fix at this point. Like, there's obviously the defense was an issue early. I think we've gotten better at that. The turnovers, I think we're starting to get better at that. I think we've continued to get better at that throughout the season, but there needs to. The main problem right now, and Billy Donovan said it in his press conference, is that this Bulls team needs to get over the hump of letting go of big leads or winnable leads in the fourth quarter. We need to play winning basketball at all times in the fourth quarter. And it's just been our Achilles heel all year. I want to kind of go into some film here and kind of just break things down a little bit. But I want to show you just initially, just look at this lineup right here. 7:27 left and Levine's not in the game, right? But no veterans are out here on the floor right now. Like, you can't consider Denzel Valentine a vet. You can't consider Arcidiacono a vet. And these are, White, Wendell, and Lowry. These are the three young guys, really. Sophomore, fourth year, third year, right? And this is where I get nervous, because this is when Denver really started to make their run. Like, now the lead's cut to 12. We had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, but it's like the momentum's shifting at this point. And I just don't think you can have this lineup out here right now with 7:27 left in the fourth quarter. That is too late in the fourth quarter to have a lineup of just a bunch of young guys out here trying to win you this game, right? And now it comes down to this, and we see this play right here. Bulls get back cut, again, hurting themselves here. It is a great play by the Denver Nuggets and great pass by Jokic, but it's just, this can't happen, right? Like, this is crunch time. Like, this is already crunch time. This should already be in your head, this is crunch time. And you can't let an easy bucket like this happen. Late rotation as well by Valentine, easy bucket, right? That can't happen. Now, look, now we got some changes in the lineup, which we got Satoransky coming back in and Levine's back in, right? And I'm like, all right, this is great, but the momentum's already shifting, right? You see it leads down to 10 now, but you just feel it. Like, everything's going Denver's way. Yeah, it's great that these guys are back in. You got veteran out here, and you got your best player in Levine back out here, but to me, it's already too late. And not only that, you got Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. out here right now. Like, like, you can only have it at max one of these guys out there, ideally neither. Like, I don't think any of these guys should be out here, and neither should Denzel Valentine. I really don't think Valentine should be out here either. And we watch this play happen, and then Jokic, again, just hits an easy bucket. Bulls then go down, and I think at that point it's just empty possession, right? So now it's like, okay, we made another lineup switch. And now Markkanen's out of the game again because he did not play good at all tonight. He played awful. And we got Otto Porter Jr. back in. But again, I think it's already too late because you still won Carter Jr. guarding the best guy on the Denver Nuggets, and then this happens. So now it's down to 6, right? It's like, this is where I'm looking at Billy Donovan. I'm like, you need to change this. Like, I know this lineup worked for you a good amount early this year, but at this point right now, especially against the Denver Nuggets team, where you need to treat this like a playoff game for you, like, this can't happen. Now, Wendell Carter Jr. is still in the game. So is Denzel Valentine at this point, and Bulls are trying to get a bucket here, and Otto Porter Jr., thank the Lord, he was in, and he was on point tonight. He hit that bucket here, which is good to see. But again, this is, again, right off the, I think this was right off the main bucket. Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't. But I just think with the Bulls here, it's like there are just so many problems, and then this is just lack of toughness by Wendell. Yes, it should have been a foul, but at this point, it's like that's not going to get called, especially, again, crunch time. Like, we need the vets out here. Like, having just even one guy, like one of the young guys out here who clearly don't know how to win yet, and partly due to previous coaching, it's just that can't happen anymore for the Bulls right now. This can't be out. Like, Wendell Carter Jr. can't be out here right now. We have to understand that every single player on the floor matters in a basketball game. Every single player. Like, no matter what you're doing out there, it affects the entire team. All five players. One person messes up, it affects all 5, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Like, you can't have these guys out here. And Wendell's still in the game right now. Like, as much as I like the guy, like, I just don't think he should be in at crunch time at all right now. As we've seen all year, that we can't play any of the young guys in crunch time, really, except for maybe Kobe White, but he has to play off guard, right? So we can't have this type of lineup late in the fourth quarter. And the biggest thing that I even tweeted this out, Thaddeus Young is not in the game right now. And I think that's an absolute travesty. And I know we're trying to limit Thaddeus Young's minutes because he's played so many minutes already, and he's up in age. But it's like Thaddeus Young didn't play that many minutes at this point. Like, it wasn't like he was in the 30s, like how Zach is always like in the 30s at this point. Like, Zach plays a ton of minutes, right? But Thaddeus Young was not in the 30s. Like, he was in the 20s still. Like, I feel like at this point he should already be in the game. I really don't think there's any excuse for this. And I am, as much as I like Billy Donovan, I think this was a big issue. I want to show you one other play here, and this is a prime example of where it's like the Bulls are just killing themselves, and it has nothing to do with turnovers. It's just lack of awareness, lack of effort, lack of IQ, really. So this play right here, I actually like this play. Otto Porter Jr. got a pretty good look from three-point range right here, but I don't know if every single person that's watching this video watched this game, but you can probably already tell where I'm going here. Like, this is when Lowry came back in, and he replaced, I think, Wendell. And it's like, okay, you're back in. You need to show up here because you haven't shown up really all game. Like, I need you to show up here, but at the very least, you need to give effort, right? And Otto Porter Jr. shoots a pretty good open look. He misses it. But just pay attention. Look what Lowry's doing. Like, I don't know what you're doing right here. So, what's happening? Who contested the shot? Michael Porter Jr. And PJ right now is leaking out. And Jokic is the best passing big man in the league. And then this happens. So, as we run this back here, yes, is Michael Porter Jr. guarding Otto Porter Jr.? Yes. Is Otto Porter supposed to pick up that guy? Or he's the main guy for defensively against Michael Porter Jr. Yes, that is true. But he's shooting the shot here, right? This is just simple basketball, right? This is stuff taught early in young age basketball. Like, this is early stuff taught. Like, if someone's shooting the basketball, it's not like they're going to be the first person running back. The person that needs to run back here is Lauri Markkanen, but also Sato. Like, Sato needs to run back as well. But these two guys right here, these two need to be running back as the shot is going up because they're not in position to get the offensive rebound, right? But this is mainly on Markkanen because he just completely just does not watch where Michael Porter Jr. is going, and he's the one that screened him as well. But this is what I can't stand about Markkanen right here. Like, you're not giving anything offensively at all. None. Like, this game, and he was apparently challenged by Billy Donovan to be more tough and more physical. He only got two rebounds tonight. But I think this is, like, Billy Donovan said that the reason why he wasn't in the game, late game, was because Otto was rolling. I think the main reason was because of stuff like this. Like, this can't happen if you're Markkanen. And this is just one of those big examples of this wasn't a turnover by the Bulls. This was a good shot that just ended up not going in, but your lack of awareness and lack of effort gave up easy 2 points right after you missed the shot. So this is where I'm very upset with Markkanen right now because I think this should be drilled in his mind already that you cannot let that man leak out. You're facing the Denver Nuggets. You should know who your opponent is, and you should know that Jokic is the best passing big man in the league. He can make that pass easily. That's not a hard pass for him. And what happens? You're not paying attention. You don't get back. You don't realize that MPJ is leaking out when you should have been already running back in the first place. It leads to an easy 2 points for the Nuggets, and now the lead's cut down even more to 4. So, problems all around. Now, I think one of the biggest things that it's going to be talked about is, like, wow, the Bulls don't have a closer. And honestly, I think that's kind of the wrong saying. I think the Bulls just, as a team, can't close games because a bunch of people are already, they're upset at Levine for not winning this game. And I'm like, you know what, you can say all you want, but the whole, like, he's an all-star thing, I'm like, you know what, that's all fine and dandy if you want to say stuff like that, but let's be honest with ourselves. Like, one person can't close a game. It requires every single player, right? And as I just showed you right here, like, if Markkanen's not paying attention, that leads to 2 easy points. And that's not on Levine. That's just on lack of effort, right? But the main thing is the team as a whole needs to get better at closing games. Whether that's they're rebounding better or that's they're defending guys better or they're just making sure that, hey, we're not going to give up an easy bucket. That's on the entire team, right? Now, on offense, yes, Levine, does he need to get better? Yeah, I think he does. But the main thing that I keep trying to point out to people is that this Bulls team drastically needs just a floor general on the court. And I know so many people are in love with Lonzo Ball, but I think one of the things people are forgetting here is that the Pelicans, for example, they're not exactly winning a bunch of games right now. Like, are they playing better than the Bulls? Probably. But they're not exactly, like, up there. They're not in the playoffs. They're not, like, up in the standings. They're not winning a bunch of games, and they have all the talent in the world. Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, like, these are 2 superstars in the making. Zion's already named an all-star, right? But not only that, you got Eric Bledsoe on the team, you got Steven Adams on the team. Like, that's a really good group, but they're also having some issues closing out games, just like how the Bulls are. They can't close games, and this is where I'm like, if we really want to fix this problem right now for the Bulls right now, I don't think Lonzo's a solution because Lonzo doesn't understand how to effectively control the pace. A guy like Chris Paul, a guy like Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry, TJ McConnell, these guys understand how to control the pace of the game. And that's more important than just being a good passer. So if we're really, if we're all young for Lonzo, then don't expect this to get any better. Because the Pelicans, I think they have more talent than the Bulls right now, and they're having the same issue as the Bulls. Like, they're having issues closing out games. And I'll even bring up, like, when the Pelicans on TNT, they faced the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, there were just moments in that game, and even with Lonzo, like Lonzo didn't take a shot at the end of the game where he should have. Like the Pelicans had such a struggle closing out that game, and that's not going to help if he comes to the Bulls. It's like he isn't here to save us, right? I think a prime example of what's happening with the Bulls right now is like think back to when the Phoenix Suns, before the bubble happened, and before they got Chris Paul, obviously this year. But think back, right? The Phoenix Suns, you have Devin Booker, who was already named an All-Star at that point. You just drafted DeAndre Ayton. You're mostly a young team, right? But I think the Phoenix Suns were one of the teams that just could not close a game, right? They would blow leads constantly. And one of the things that was constantly being talked about was just like, you can't have Devin Booker be the only guy out there that can handle the ball late in game. And I think that's kind of the problem right now for the Bulls is with the same thing with LaVine. Is like LaVine is a great scorer, and that should only be his responsibility late game. He should not have to be the person handling the ball, being the point guard, trying to get everyone in their sets, and also trying to control the pace of the game all at the same time in crunch time. That can't be all on his shoulders. We need to divide up the responsibility, but we don't have anybody that can take like being that floor general responsibility, right? So what you see this year, you bring in a guy like Chris Paul. Now all of a sudden the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker is still your number one scoring option, right? He's still the main guy. He's still the best player on the team. He's still the leading scorer. But you see that with Chris Paul, that he's the guy that is controlling mostly everything in the fourth quarter. Devin Booker's hitting the shots, but Chris Paul is the guy yelling at everybody, okay, we're running this play, or we're slowing it down right here. And he is the guy saying, I am controlling the pace of this game right now. No one else is going to control it. I'm the guy in charge. I'm controlling the pace. Devin Booker, you need to go over there. You need to play in the set. You need to run this action. I'm going to get you the ball in your spot so you can go score that bucket, right? So that's what the Bulls are missing right now. It's not a great passer. It's not a good facilitator. We see that this Bulls team is really good at passing. We've been top 10 in assists all season. We don't need more passing. We need a guy that understands how to control the pace of this game. So I look at ourselves right now as like how the Phoenix Suns were like 2 years ago when Devin Booker's an all-star and he's clearly the main guy, but he needs that point guard to help take the pressure off of him in the fourth quarter. But not only that, though, I honestly think that this team just needs a second scorer because what we saw in this game against the Denver Nuggets, right, it was Jokic and Murray down the stretch. And I even tweeted out, like, how are the Bulls going to guard the pick and roll with Jokic and Murray in the fourth quarter? Because that's just how it is against the Denver Nuggets in crunch time. But I think the Bulls did overall a pretty decent job. But what makes it so effective and so hard to guard is that both these guys, they're legitimate scorers, right? Jokic can score from anywhere. Murray can score from anywhere. But not only that, you just know that they're scorers. They're going to be guys putting up 20 points per game a night no matter what. Bulls don't have a second scorer right now. I mean, it's been Thaddeus Young all season, but I mean, I don't know what to tell all the Lauri Markkanen supporters here, but this Markkanen needs to be that guy, and he hasn't been that at all. And I understand he's averaging career highs for a bunch of stats, including three-point shooting, but I think Markkanen, if I remember correctly, he's like 8 for his last 30 from three-point range. I need to see him being an effective option down the stretch, or just in the game in general. Like, I need him to be an actual scoring option, but he hasn't been that. If we can have a second scoring option, I don't even care what position it is at this point. Oh my gosh, it's a totally different game because LaVine was getting triple teamed in the fourth quarter. That's how scared the Denver Nuggets were of LaVine, but they would rather have Satoransky or Otto Porter or Thaddeus Young be taking shots instead of LaVine, and that's the smart move. So I'm not exactly very upset at this game. I should be. But I came into this game thinking that the Denver Nuggets were going to win. Once the Bulls got that lead early in the first quarter when the Nuggets absolutely came out like flat, just not ready to play at all, I was like, good. This Bulls team, you came out, you saw the Nuggets were taking a bunch of unnecessary threes, committing a lot of turnovers, not getting back on defense. You took advantage of that. I was so scared throughout the entire game, though. I'm like, okay, when are the Nuggets going to get serious here? And they really did not get serious until the fourth quarter happened, and that's when the Bulls absolutely just fell. So I honestly think that, yes, this game you should have won because you had a 14-point lead. And I don't care what type of team you are. If you have a 14-point lead, you should win this game in the fourth quarter, right? If you had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, you should win that game, right? No excuses there, but let's be honest with ourselves. If Denver came ready to play, we are not in any position to win this game at all. And just Denver did not come ready to play. And I applaud this Bulls team for punching the Denver Nuggets in the mouth early in the game. But unfortunately, we just can't win the game at the end. And this Denver Nuggets team luckily gave us that chance, but we need to take advantage of that chance of winning this game when they gave it to us. Donovan in his press conference was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how many things had to go wrong for us to give the Nuggets an opportunity to come back. And everything that could have went wrong. That's how bad it is right now for the Bulls in the fourth quarter, is that everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And a guy, like Donovan on the coaching staff, like, he can only do so much at this point. It comes down to the players to be like, what's smart, what's not smart. Should we do this? Should we not do this? Like, it really just comes down to the five guys on the floor. And I don't think right now, at least, we have those types of guys. We need that one player to tell the guys, hey, this is what we should be doing. That's my thoughts on this game. What's up, Bulls fans? I decided to cut the video here, so I wasn't able to do my normal outro, but hope you guys enjoyed my post-game recap of the Bulls versus Nuggets. I dropped another video at the same time as this video about the Bulls and my thoughts and if they can fulfill that point guard position at the trade deadline, which is in 5 days. So go check that out if you want to. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.